Today was the last round of the Norway chess tournament. Magnus Carlsen in the lead, but Richard Rapport also still in contention. I'm going to take a look at the game between Firouzja and Rapport. Carlsen against Nepo, well, that was kind of in the balance, but anyway, I'll let you know what happened in that game in a little bit. But all the action was taking place in this game. Alireza Firouzja with the white pieces, Rapport with black. Obviously, Rapport would like to keep some chances alive so that he could play for a win in this game. Bishop b5, the Rossolimo. Have to say, one of my favourite openings to play with white. Knight f6. So main moves here, g6 and e6. But personally, I've always thought that knight f6 was kind of an underrated move, actually. Can lead to really sharp positions. Knight c3. And here, knight d4. Well, yeah, it's quite a risky move, of course. Remember that white is developing quite quickly, but black's pieces still on their starting blocks. e5. I've covered this move before in some of the videos on the channel. It is very sharp indeed. So knight takes, knight takes, knight d5. And here, well, I think I've mentioned this before, but knight g5 is a really tricky move. I won in 11 moves using this move once. Yeah, really interesting move. But if black defends well, then he's okay. But instead, Firouzja played castle's kingside. And of course, it can't be bad. You bring your king to safety very quickly. Black's pieces are still on their starting blocks here. And yeah, there's lots of chances to try and catch out your opponent. For example, g6, d4. This is a game between Sugirov and Pichot. Takes here. d5. Well, white won that game very quickly as well. So a6 from Rapport. Here one could just bring the knight back. That's not bad. But c4 is a really interesting move. In fact, there's an old game between Sachs and Sveshnikov, played in Hastings 1977. I remember the game really well, where Dula Sachs, sadly, he's died a couple of years ago, but Dula Sachs was an incredibly strong attacking player from Hungary, and he destroyed Sveshnikov. Well, that's a game I'll show you another time. But just to say, this is a very dangerous position. Rapport played knight b4. The knight came back to c3. d6. Now another game. Sveshnikov playing black against Tukmarkov. Tukmarkov exchange on d6. And basically, Sveshnikov survived this one. But instead of taking on d6, Alireza played d4. And a really interesting position arises. Pawn takes pawn, and here Alireza just took on d4 with the queen. So obviously, he's developing very, very quickly. But of course, this allows knight c2. So he's giving up the rook in the corner. And what was interesting was that Alireza said after the game that this was not preparation. He came up with this sacrifice during the game. And he just said, there's no way I can be worse. So that shows you he has a real feel for attacking chess. He's incredibly confident when it comes to the initiative. And he just played bishop f4. Calm as you like. So he's just developing his pieces very quickly. And this is not simple for Rapport. to bring his pieces into the game. You know, white just wants to take this and play rook d1, take on d6. Well, Rapport played bishop e6, which at least covers the d5 square because that knight wants to hop in there. Rook takes knight. Rook c8, attacking the pawn. And here, Alireza played knight d5. In fact, b3 is a very inviting move here. Just defending that pawn, and then, you know, you can carry on with moves like rook d1, you know, maybe knight g5 is coming. But knight d5, well, it's still an incredibly threatening move. But there are potentially some problems here because that knight in some variations can be exchanged off. Anyway, pawn takes pawn, knight takes. I mean, this is so difficult to play with black, it has to be said. What's interesting is that when you feed this into the computer, it actually thinks that black is fine. But defending this position is really, really difficult. So black is a whole exchange up. I mean, you know, an interesting decision here. Rapport, I think, understandably just exchanged off that knight. But he could have played king f7. And it's not absolutely clear how white should proceed. You could play rook e1, allow an exchange, and then the knight comes into d4. But how clear is that? It's not. I don't know. You know, g6 is coming. Maybe rook d8 to take this pawn. It's very hard to judge. I mean, it's very scary for black. Takes. Pawn takes. This is the game continuation. Rook c5. And now d6. So this opens up this diagonal, and queen d7 protects that pawn. And here, Alireza said after the game that he felt that Rapport had overlooked this move b4, which pushes the rook away. And once the rook moves away, whether it's c8 or c6, then after e5, that will be taken. The rook is no longer defending. Rook c8 is the best move here, the computer tells me. And with very best play, it might be a draw. But still, I mean, when you have variations like this, rook e1. Now, if e5, that's going to be taken very swiftly by white. But king f7, knight d4. I mean, I want to show you one variation which is incredible. Well, after this, actually, the machine thinks that this is still tenable for black, but that's very hard to defend. But let me show you this variation. e6, knight takes. I mean, it looks like black should just be lost here, actually. But rook here, knight g5 check. Now, if the king moves away from the rook, then well, I mean, it can't do here in this position. It's absolutely forced taking. If the king moves here, then you can take the rook, but you can play queen d5. So absolutely forced to take that. Now watch this, queen d5. It looks like black is lost here, because if rook e6 check, then queen f5, and this will be taken. But let's just come back. After queen d5, king g6, queen g5 check, king here, queen d5 check. Now, how does black survive this? There is only one move to survive, and that's king f6, and that should be a draw by perpetual check. But watch what happens on king g6, which seems like it's good enough to draw, but watch this. Rook takes, queen takes, and now a winning move for white. g4, absolutely brilliant. Of course, this is a computer move. Two things. It gives the king an escape square, and it also threatens queen f5 mate. And there is no defense. This is quite extraordinary. So, for example, queen d7 got f5, but now check. Bishop e5, and that wins the queen. So that's the kind of mad variation you have to calculate. How you find that when you're defending, who knows? But anyway, apparently rook c8, the computer still thinks it's a draw, but really, good luck with that. Rook c6 was played, rook e1, and e5. This looks absolutely terrifying. Again, the computer is reasonably sanguine about this position, but I mean, how you defend this, I mean, it looks absolutely terrible. a4 here, b5, you know, with black's king staggering around in the middle of the board. I mean, really, still thinks that black is okay here, but yeah, like I said, good luck with that. It looks absolutely terrible, you know, with this rook still in the corner. Split rooks. There we go. I said it. The queen isn't in Siberia, however, but it's not a brilliant position. There I go. I've got my Queen in Siberia mug with me tonight. Let's go back. King f7 played, and now this is really bad. If e takes d6, queen check, and here, well, you know, we need to be able to play rook e3, but be careful, there's actually a back rank checkmate. So bishop d2 check first, and then if bishop e7, rook e3. I mean, it's a mad position. This one is winning. Anyway, after knight d4, e5 was played. I'm sorry if this is very confusing. It is a really confusing position. That's an accurate representation of what's going on. But this is lost now. Check. Bishop takes e5, and if pawn takes, then knight f3, and that is absolutely devastating. So rook takes d6, bishop takes. If queen takes, then check here, and knight f5. That's the end of the story, followed by knight e7 check. So bishop takes, queen e4 check. This is the game continuation, finally. I'm trying not to confuse you, but I mean, obviously this is lost because this pin is just deadly, plus the king is exposed. You know, that just adds up to complete disaster. Rook d1, and the game finished like this. Rook e8, knight f3, good move, pin and win. Rook e6, knight h4. Yeah, okay, knight h4 here, and after knight f5, actually rook e5 would just hold on for black, but first of all we give a check, and that was the final move of the game, because of course if the king goes back, then knight f5 really is a killing move, threatening the bishop, and yeah, the pin wins basically. Wow, I mean, what a whirlwind game. And Alireza won his last 4 games, which meant he ended up in 2nd place in the tournament after a not great start. Magnus drew his classical game against Nepo with black. He was actually pressing, and then Magnus convincingly won the Armageddon game. So that sends a little message to Nepo for the World Championship match in November. So Magnus Carlsen won the tournament, and he looks really impressive. He didn't start too well, but his performance in the second half of the tournament was pretty remarkable, and he's looking pretty good in the run-up to the World Championship match. Whereas Nepo, got a bit of work to do. I mean, it's hard to draw conclusions really from this kind of tournament. both players will have been guarded about the openings they're playing, for example. They haven't brought their A game as far as openings go. But, well, we learned once again that Magnus shows incredible resilience. His endgame play is remarkable. And, well, much else, basically. But as far as the young guys go, well, Alireza is now in the top 10 in the world. So he is at number 9 in the world after that performance. Rapport slips down to number 10, but they're neck and neck, basically. So that's great to see them bursting through into the top 10, and it's good to shake up the established order. So I really hope you enjoyed my coverage of Norway chess. If you did, then, well, do drop some coins in the box. You can donate via PayPal or patreon.com. Check out the rewards on Patreon. And don't forget, like, comment, share and subscribe, and I'll be back soon with more videos on the channel. Thanks everyone for watching, and thanks for all your comments as well. I really do appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Bye now.